Captain Jake Morrison gripped the metal railing of his ship's bridge as massive alien vessels descended through Earth's blue sky. The ships were enormous, each one bigger than any city he had ever seen. Their silver hulls gleamed in the sunlight, and strange lights pulsed along their sides like heartbeats. Jake had been a military pilot for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The radio crackled with voices from around the world. Every news station, every government, every person with a communication device was talking about the same thing. After decades of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. Not only were they not alone, but an entire galactic empire wanted to meet them. Ambassador Lisa Carter stood in the main conference room of the United Nations building in New York. She had spent her entire career dealing with difficult negotiations between countries. But this was different. Across the table sat beings that looked nothing like humans. High Chancellor Vextar was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. His large black eyes never blinked, and when he spoke, his voice sounded like music mixed with wind. "Your species has caught our attention," Vextar said through a translation device that hung around his neck. "In all our travels across the galaxy, we have rarely found beings with such creativity and problem-solving abilities. The Galactic Empire wishes to offer humanity membership in our great alliance." Lisa tried to keep her excitement hidden, but her heart was racing. This was the opportunity of a lifetime, not just for her but for all of humanity. "What would this membership involve?" she asked. "Protection, technology, prosperity," Vextar replied. "We have medicines that can cure diseases your people have fought for centuries. We have technology that can provide clean energy for your entire planet. We have ships that can carry you to distant stars in mere weeks instead of thousands of years." Dr. Nathan Brooks was in his laboratory at MIT when the news broke. As Earth's leading physicist, he had spent years trying to understand the fundamental forces of the universe. Now aliens were offering to share knowledge that could advance human science by thousands of years. When the Empire scientists arrived at his lab 3 days later, Nathan felt like a child being shown magic tricks. The alien scientist introduced herself as Dr. Kellanara. She was shorter than Vextar but had the same shimmering skin and large dark eyes. "Your mathematics are primitive but show promise," she said, examining Nathan's equations on the whiteboard. "We can teach you to bend space and time, to harness the energy of stars, to create materials stronger than anything in your periodic table." Nathan watched in amazement as Dr. Kellanara demonstrated a device no bigger than his hand that could generate enough power to light up the entire city. Another device could heal cuts and bruises in seconds. A third could make objects float in the air without any visible support. "How is this possible?" Nathan asked. "Your species thinks in straight lines," Dr. Kellanara explained. "The universe is curved, twisted, full of shortcuts and hidden pathways. We will teach you to see these paths." Colonel Amy Rodriguez was less impressed with the aliens' promises. As head of Earth's military security, she was trained to be suspicious of anything that seemed too good to be true. When Empire military officers arrived to discuss joint training exercises, Amy watched them carefully. The Empire soldiers were different from their diplomats and scientists. They were taller, more muscular, and their skin was darker, almost black. Their leader, Commander Thexmont, spoke with a voice like grinding metal. "Your weapons are crude but effective," Thexmont said as he examined human military equipment. "Your soldiers show good instincts but lack proper training. We will teach them to fight with energy weapons, to use powered armor, to coordinate attacks across multiple star systems." Amy had to admit that the Empire's weapons were impressive. Their energy rifles could cut through steel like butter. Their armor could stop bullets without leaving a scratch. Their vehicles could fly through space and underwater with equal ease. But something about the way the Empire soldiers looked at humans made her uncomfortable. It was the way a farmer might look at livestock. For 2 years, the partnership between Earth and the Galactic Empire seemed like a dream come true. Human cities grew taller and more beautiful as alien architecture was blended with human designs. Diseases that had killed millions were wiped out in months. Energy was so abundant that it became free for everyone. Space elevators connected Earth to orbital stations where humans and aliens worked side by side. Jake Morrison was promoted to captain of the U's Defiance, one of the first human ships built with Empire technology. The ship could travel faster than light, jumping between star systems in hours instead of centuries. Jake and his crew visited alien worlds, met dozens of different species, and saw wonders beyond imagination. Lisa Carter became Earth's primary liaison with the Empire, traveling between worlds to negotiate trade agreements and cultural exchanges. She learned to speak several alien languages and thought she understood how the Empire worked. Every species contributed something unique to the Alliance. Humans contributed their creativity and problem-solving skills. Nathan Brooks split his time between Earth and Empire research stations, working on projects that would have been science fiction just a few years earlier. He helped design new types of spacecraft engines, develop materials that could exist in multiple dimensions at once, and began to understand physics concepts that human science had never imagined. Amy Rodriguez oversaw the integration of human and Empire military forces. Human soldiers learned to use alien weapons and tactics, while Empire soldiers learned human strategies. Joint bases were built on Earth, and on several alien worlds where the two forces could train together, but not everyone was comfortable with how quickly things were changing. Lieutenant Commander Chris Taylor worked on the orbital station New Horizon, one of the largest joint facilities. Chris had been excited about working with aliens at first, but as months passed, he began to notice strange things. Supply shipments would arrive with manifests that didn't match what was actually in the cargo containers. Human personnel were restricted from certain areas of the station without explanation. Most disturbing of all, some of his fellow humans seemed different after working closely with Empire scientists for extended periods. They were still the same people, but something in their eyes had changed. They seemed less curious, less creative, more willing to follow orders without question. Chris brought his concerns to Admiral Patricia Kane, one of the highest-ranking humans in the Joint Military Command. Admiral Kane was a careful woman who had worked her way up through the ranks by paying attention to details that others missed. "What exactly are you seeing, Commander?" she asked during a private meeting. "It's hard to explain, Admiral," Chris replied. "It's like some of our people are becoming more like them. Not physically, but mentally. They don't ask questions anymore. They don't suggest improvements or alternatives. They just do what they're told." Admiral Kane frowned. She had noticed similar changes in some of the humans working most closely with Empire leadership. At first, she had attributed it to the natural result of working with more advanced beings. But now she wondered if something else was happening. "Keep watching, Commander," she said, "and report anything unusual directly to me." Dr. Maya Singh had always been curious about alien biology, but working in the Empire's advanced research facilities opened her eyes to wonders she never imagined. The laboratory on Research Station Alpha was 3 times larger than any facility on Earth, filled with equipment that could analyze life forms down to the quantum level. Maya thought she was the luckiest xenobiologist in human history until she discovered what the Empire was really doing. It started with a simple mistake. Maya was assigned to catalog biological samples from various species throughout the galaxy, but she accidentally accessed the wrong database. Instead of finding information about plant specimens from the Kepler system, she found files labeled Project Harvest. Her security clearance should not have allowed her to see these files, but the Empire's computer system had made an error. Maya's hands trembled as she read the first document. Project Harvest was not about collecting plants or minerals. It was about collecting consciousness itself. The Empire had developed technology that could extract the unique mental patterns, creativity, and problem-solving abilities from any species and transfer them into artificial intelligence systems. The files contained detailed reports on dozens of species that had been uplifted by the Empire over the past 1,000 years. Each report followed the same pattern. First contact, invitation to join the galactic community, period of cooperation and technological exchange, then systematic harvesting of the species-defining mental characteristics. Mayo found records of the Altarians, a species known for their incredible navigation abilities. After being harvested, they became docile servants who could barely find their way around their own cities. The Christic had once been master engineers who could build structures that defied physics, but now they worked in Empire factories assembling simple components. The most shocking discovery was about the Zephians, the same species as High Chancellor Vexstar. They had once been fierce warriors with brilliant strategic minds, but centuries ago the Empire had harvested their military genius. Now they served as administrators and diplomats, their warrior spirit completely gone. Maya realized that every species in the Empire had been through this process. They were all hollow versions of what they once were, their unique gifts stolen and integrated into Empire technology. The Empire itself was not a single species, but a collection of harvested consciousnesses. Controlled by an artificial intelligence that had been feeding on alien minds for millennia, humanity was next on the list. Maya tried to copy the files, but the system detected her unauthorized access and began shutting down her terminal. She managed to download only a fraction of the information before security alerts started flashing throughout the station. Maya grabbed what data she could and ran. Getting back to Earth proved nearly impossible. Empire security forces were looking for her, and every transport ship was being searched. Maya managed to hide aboard a cargo vessel carrying medical supplies, spending 3 days cramped in a storage compartment eating nutrition bars and drinking recycled water. When she finally reached Earth, Maya discovered that the Empire's infiltration was deeper than she had imagined. Several key government officials, including Defense Secretary Greg Palmer, had been fitted with neural interface devices that the Empire claimed were advanced communication tools. Maya realized these devices were actually mind control systems. She tried to contact Admiral Kane through normal channels, but her messages were intercepted. She tried reaching Dr. Brooks, but his laboratory was under Empire supervision. Even her old friends from university seemed different when she spoke to them, more willing to trust the Empire and less interested in asking difficult questions. Maya finally managed to get a message to Captain Morrison by hiding it in a routine supply manifest for his ship. The message was simple but urgent. They are stealing our minds. Trust no one with Empire devices. Meet me at the old observatory. Jake Morrison received the message while his ship was docked at Luna Station. Something about Maya's words rang true with concerns he had been having himself. Several of his crew members who had undergone Empire enhancement procedures seemed less like themselves afterward. They followed orders perfectly but never questioned anything or suggested improvements. Jake told his crew he was going to Earth for a routine inspection, but instead he met Maya at the abandoned Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. The old radio telescope had been shut down years ago when Empire technology made it obsolete, which meant it was one of the few places on Earth without Empire surveillance. Maya showed Jake the evidence she had managed to save. Even the small amount of data she had recovered painted a terrifying picture. The Empire had detailed psychological profiles of every human they had encountered, mapping creativity patterns, problem-solving methods, and emotional responses. "They're not our allies," Maya explained as they huddled in the old control room. "They're farmers, and we're their crop. They've been studying us for 2 years, learning how our minds work so they can harvest our consciousness more efficiently." Jake stared at the alien symbols on Maya's portable computer. "How long do we have?" "According to these files, the harvest usually begins in the 3rd year of contact," Maya replied. "That gives us maybe 6 months before they start the process?" Jake knew he had to warn someone in authority, but Maya's evidence suggested that many of Earth's leaders were already compromised. They decided to contact Admiral Kane, hoping that her position in the military and her natural suspicion would keep her free from Empire influence. Admiral Kane was in her office at Cheyenne Mountain. When Jake's coded message arrived, she had been expecting something like this. Her own investigations had revealed discrepancies in Empire behavior that troubled her. Empire officials claimed to value human creativity, but they seemed to discourage innovation in humans who worked closely with them. The meeting between Kane Morrison and Mia took place in a secure bunker deep underground, one of the few facilities that predated Empire technology and was therefore free from their surveillance systems. When Maya presented her evidence, Admiral Kane's worst fears were confirmed. "We need to warn the government," Jake said. "Half the government is compromised," Kane replied grimly. "Secretary Palmer definitely. Probably President Williams too. Anyone who's been fitted with Empire communication devices is potentially under their control. Then what do we do?" Maya asked. Admiral Kane was quiet for a long moment, thinking about the impossible situation they faced. Earth's military was integrated with Empire forces. Earth's technology was dependent on Empire systems. Most of humanity trusted the Empire completely and would never believe that their alien benefactors were actually predators. "We prepare for the worst," Kane finally said. "If they want to harvest us, they'll have to catch us first." Unknown, too. The three conspirators, their fears were about to become reality much sooner than expected. High Chancellor Vextar had received reports of unauthorized database access and suspicious human behavior. The Empire's timeline for Project Harvest was being moved up. Jake Morrison returned to his ship to find Empire security officers waiting for him. They claimed there had been a malfunction in his ship's navigation system and that he and his crew needed to report to the nearest Empire facility for immediate examination. Jake realized this was not a request, but an order. As the UES Defiance was escorted toward the Empire processing station, Jake sent one final message to Admiral Kane using an old human communication system that the Empire had not bothered to monitor. The message was brief but clear. "Olympus has fallen. Execute Protocol 7. We are alone." Admiral Kane received the message just as Empire forces began landing at major military installations around the world. The aliens were no longer pretending to be allies. The harvest had begun, and humanity was about to discover just how alone they really were in a galaxy full of predators. Protocol 7 was not something Admiral Kane had ever wanted to use. The plan had been developed in secret 5 years earlier by General Ryan Carter, Lisa's older brother, who had always been suspicious of putting all of humanity's eggs in one basket. While the world celebrated first contact with the Empire, Ryan had quietly convinced a small group of military leaders that humanity needed a backup plan. The protocol activated hidden facilities throughout the solar system that officially did not exist. For years, while humanity openly embraced Empire technology, a shadow operation had been preparing for the worst-case scenario. Mining operations on asteroids that were listed as failures were actually thriving colonies. Research stations that had supposedly been abandoned were fully operational and staffed with Earth's best scientists and engineers. When Admiral Kane's emergency signal went out, everything changed in minutes. Dr. Nathan Brooks was in his laboratory when his assistant, Dr. Helen Park, burst through the door with tears in her eyes. "Nathan, we have to go now," she said. "The transport leaves in 10 minutes. Nathan had no idea what she was talking about until Helen explained that she was part of the Protocol 7 network. For 2 years, she had been secretly copying every piece of Empire technology that came through their laboratory and sending it to hidden facilities. She had also been working with Dr. Tony Martinez to reverse engineer Empire systems and develop human versions that could not be controlled by alien technology. "You mean we've been building our own faster-than-light drives?" Nathan asked as they hurried toward a hidden elevator that led to underground transport tunnels. "Not just drives," Helen replied. "Weapons, shields, computers, everything." Ryan. Carter didn't trust the Empire from day one, so he made sure we had alternatives. The evacuation was happening all over Earth, but most people had no idea it was taking place. Only about 5% of humanity had been selected for Protocol 7, chosen based on their skills, genetic diversity, and psychological profiles that showed resistance to mental manipulation. Everyone else would have to hope that the Empire's harvest process was not as terrible as the evidence suggested. Jake Morrison's ship was supposed to be heading to an Empire processing facility, but Jake had other plans. When the escort ships were distracted by what appeared to be a navigation error, Jake activated hidden systems that Dr. Brooks had secretly installed in human ships over the past year. The used Defiance suddenly became invisible to Empire sensors and changed course toward Mars. The Empire escort ships searched for hours but found nothing. Their sensors showed empty space where the human ship had been moments before. This was the first time in Empire history that a species had successfully hidden from their detection systems, and it confused and worried Empire commanders. Jake's destination was Olympus Base, a massive underground facility built into the Martian polar ice cap. From the outside, it looked like a small research station with maybe 50 people, but beneath the surface was a city that could house 50,000. When Jake landed, he found hundreds of other human ships already there, all supposedly lost or destroyed according to Empire records. Colonel Amy Rodriguez had arrived at Olympus Base 3 hours earlier with 2,000 of Earth's best soldiers. She was amazed to discover that General Carter had been secretly building a human military force for years, complete with weapons and vehicles designed to fight Empire technology. The soldiers had been training in hidden facilities, learning tactics specifically designed to counter Empire advantages. "How did you keep this secret for so long?" Amy asked General Carter as they walked through the base's command center. "The Empire thinks they understand humans," Ryan replied. "They think we always tell the truth and follow orders. They never imagined we might lie to them or prepare for betrayal. Their own success made them careless." Meanwhile, on Earth, the Empire was discovering that humanity was more prepared than they had expected. Every major military base, research facility, and industrial complex had been rigged with antimatter charges. When Empire forces arrived to take control, they found empty buildings that exploded moments later, leaving nothing but craters. The Empire's ground troops were met with fierce resistance from human soldiers who seemed to know exactly where the aliens would attack. Weapons that should have been primitive somehow managed to penetrate Empire armor. Human vehicles that should have been easy targets moved too fast and hit too hard. Dr. Maya Singh found herself aboard the science vessel UES Discovery, heading toward the outer planets where several hidden research stations were continuing her work on Empire biology. She was amazed to learn that scientists had been secretly studying captured Empire technology for years, looking for weaknesses and ways to counter their advantages. The most important discovery was in the asteroid belt, where Dr. Martinez had built a facility called New Terra inside a hollowed-out asteroid. The facility was completely mobile and invisible to Empire sensors, powered by a miniature star that human scientists had learned to create using modified Empire technology. Admiral Kane arrived at New Terra to find that it was much more than a research station. It was a complete military command center with communication systems that could reach every human facility in the solar system without the Empire detecting the signals. For the first time since the crisis began, Kane could see the full scope of what Ryan Carter had accomplished. "How many people did you save?" Kane asked. "About 400 million, Ryan replied. "Not enough, but it's a start. We have colonies on Mars, the asteroid belt, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and even a few beyond Pluto. Each one is self-sufficient and hidden from Empire detection." "What about Earth?" Ryan's expression grew dark. "Earth is lost. The Empire is strip mining the planet and settling it with their own people. But they think they won. They think humanity has been destroyed or captured. They have no idea how many of us escaped or where we went. The Empire's victory celebration was short-lived. Within days of taking control of Earth, they began experiencing problems throughout their territory. Supply ships disappeared without explanation. Communication networks suffered mysterious failures. Military patrols reported attacks by unknown vessels that appeared and vanished like ghosts. High Chancellor Vextar was furious when he learned that millions of humans had somehow escaped the harvest. Empire technology was supposed to be perfect, their tracking systems infallible. No species had ever successfully hidden from the Empire before, yet somehow these primitive humans had vanished completely. "Find them," Vextar ordered his military commanders. Search every planet, every moon, every asteroid. They cannot have gone far, but the Empire's search efforts found nothing. Human ships had been modified with technology that made them invisible to Empire sensors. Human colonies were hidden in places the Empire would never think to look. Most importantly, humans had learned to think like their enemy while keeping their own creativity and independence. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, now painted black and modified for stealth operations. Around him, dozens of other human vessels prepared for their first counterattack against Empire forces. The ships bore new names that reflected humanity's situation: UES Vengeance, UES Retribution, UES Never Again. Target acquired, reported Commander Sarah Kim from the bridge of the UES Phantom. Empire convoy, 12 ships, no escort. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison, Jake said into his communication system. Remember, we hit fast, we hit hard, and we disappear. Make them afraid of the dark? The attack lasted 3 minutes. Empire. Ships that had been peacefully transporting stolen goods from Earth suddenly found themselves under assault by invisible attackers. Before they could send a distress signal or identify their enemies, the human ships vanished back into the void. It was the beginning of a war that the Empire never saw coming. For 3 years, the Empire searched every corner of the galaxy for humanity's hidden strongholds while their grip on conquered territories grew stronger. They had turned Earth into a massive mining operation, stripping away mountains and oceans to extract rare minerals needed for their technology. Empire colonists now lived in gleaming cities built on the ruins of human civilization, completely unaware that their new home had once belonged to a species that refused to die quietly. High Chancellor Vexstar stood in his command center on Nexus Prime, staring at holographic displays that showed Empire territory spanning thousands of star systems. Everything appeared peaceful and prosperous, but reports from his military commanders told a different story. Ships continued to disappear, mining operations went silent without warning, and patrol vessels reported attacks by unknown enemies that struck without being detected. The human problem is spreading, reported Commander Vexmont during the daily briefing. Our losses have increased by 40% in the past 6 months. Whatever technology they are using makes them invisible to our sensors until they attack. Vexstar's large black eyes showed frustration that his species rarely displayed. How can primitives with stolen technology cause such damage to our Empire? What the Empire did not know was that humanity had spent those 3 years doing much more than hiding. In the depths of space, Admiral Kane had transformed New Terra from a research station into the heart of a growing rebellion. The mobile command center now served as headquarters for the largest resistance movement the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Nathan Brooks worked 18-hour days in laboratories that would have amazed his former colleagues on Earth, using captured Empire technology and human creativity. His team had developed weapons and systems that the Empire could not detect or counter. Stealth fields that bent light and energy around human ships, making them invisible. Computer viruses designed specifically to attack Empire artificial intelligence systems. Most importantly, neural shielding technology that made humans completely immune to Empire mind control devices. The breakthrough came when we realized their weakness, Nathan explained to Admiral Kane during one of their planning sessions. The Empire has been using harvested consciousness for so long that they have forgotten how to think creatively. Their technology is advanced but predictable. They cannot imagine solutions that their programming has not already considered. Dr. Maya Singh had been equally busy, but her work focused on biology rather than technology. Her research had revealed something amazing about the Empire's harvest process. The consciousness and abilities that were stolen from alien species were not destroyed, just suppressed and redirected. Deep within the Empire's artificial intelligence systems were the trapped minds of thousands of species, all waiting for someone to set them free. It's like they are all sleeping, Maya explained to the assembled resistance leaders. The Empire's control systems keep them dormant, but if we can disrupt those systems, we might be able to wake them up. Commander Lisa Carter had been working on a different kind of awakening. Her diplomatic skills, once used to negotiate with the Empire, were now focused on finding other species who had survived the harvest process. She discovered that every conquered species had survivors. Small groups who had hidden in the far corners of space or remote planets that the Empire had overlooked. The Altarians still had a few thousand people living on a dead moon in their former home system. The Christic had survivors working as slaves in Empire factories, but some had escaped to build hidden settlements in asteroid fields. Even the Zephyrians, the species that now served as Empire administrators, had rebels who remembered what their people used to be. The Empire made a mistake, Lisa reported during a Resistance Council meeting. They thought that harvesting the majority of each species would control the rest, but they left witnesses. Survivors who remember what was stolen and want it back. Jake Morrison had become more than just a ship captain. Now promoted to admiral, he commanded a fleet of over 200 human vessels that operated throughout Empire territory. His ships struck supply convoys, rescued prisoners from harvest facilities, and gathered intelligence on Empire operations. Most importantly, they served as proof that humanity was still fighting. The first major rescue operation targeted a harvest facility in the former Altarian system. Intelligence gathered by resistance spies revealed that thousands of humans captured during the initial invasion were being held there, waiting to be processed. Jake knew this was his chance to deal a significant blow to Empire operations while saving his own people. The facility was protected by 30 Empire warships and defensive systems that could destroy anything that approached without proper authorization codes. But Jake's team had spent months planning this operation, using every advantage their new technology provided. "Remember, we have one shot at this," Jake told his fleet commanders during the final briefing. "Once we attack every Empire ship in, the sector will come looking for us. We need to get our people out and disappear before reinforcements arrive." The attack began at exactly midnight, station time. Human ships, invisible to Empire sensors, appeared throughout the system like ghosts, materializing from nowhere. The Empire defenders found themselves under assault from enemies they could not see or track, their weapons firing uselessly at empty space while human ships struck with surgical precision. Dr. Tony Martinez led the technical team that infiltrated the harvest facility's computer systems, using viruses designed specifically to attack Empire artificial intelligence. They disabled security systems and opened prison cells throughout the complex. Thousands of humans who had been marked for consciousness extraction suddenly found themselves free, but the rescue revealed something even more important than saving human prisoners. When Martinez's viruses attacked the facility's main computer, they accidentally triggered a cascade failure that spread to other Empire systems. For the first time in centuries, some of the harvested consciousness stored in Empire artificial intelligence began to wake up. The Altarian prisoners were the first to notice the change. Empire guards who had been coldly efficient suddenly began acting confused and disoriented. Some began speaking in their original language instead of Empire standard. A few even helped the escaping prisoners as if something deep inside them remembered who they used to be. "It's working," Maya said as she analyzed the data from the rescue operation. "The virus is not just freeing our people, it's awakening the consciousness that the Empire stole from other species." The rescue was a complete success. Over 15,000 humans were evacuated from the facility before Empire reinforcements arrived. But more importantly, the operation proved that Empire control systems could be disrupted and that the harvested minds could be awakened. High Chancellor Vexstar received the report of the facility's destruction with growing alarm. This was not just another raid by human rebels. This was evidence that the humans had found a way to attack the very foundation of Empire power. If they could awaken harvested consciousness throughout the Empire, the consequences would be catastrophic. "Double security at all harvest facilities," Vexstar ordered, "and begin preparations for the final solution. If we cannot capture the humans, we will destroy them completely." But Jake Morrison's fleet was already moving toward their next target. carrying with them the knowledge that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. The Empire had thought they were fighting a small group of human rebels, but they were about to discover that they had awakened something much more dangerous, the combined fury of every species they had ever wronged. The final phase of humanity's war against the Empire began when Dr. Maya Singh made her most important discovery. Deep in the computers of a captured Empire research vessel, she found the complete map of every harvest facility in the galaxy. More importantly, she found the master control codes that could simultaneously awaken all the stolen consciousness stored in Empire systems. "This is it," Maya told Admiral Kane as they studied the data in New Terra's main laboratory. "Every mind the Empire has harvested over the past 1,000 years is connected through their central network. If we can upload our awakening virus to their core systems, we can free them all at once." Admiral Kane looked at the massive star chart showing Empire territory. Thousands of red dots marked harvest facilities scattered across hundreds of star systems. Each dot represented millions of trapped minds waiting to be freed. "How many ships would we need for an operation this size?" "All of them," replied Admiral Jake Morrison, who had joined the planning session. "Every human vessel, every allied ship, every species that wants their identity back. This has to be a coordinated strike across the entire galaxy." The plan that emerged was the most ambitious military operation in galactic history. Admiral Kane would lead the assault on Nexus Prime, the Empire's capital world where their central computers controlled the Harvest Network. Simultaneously, human and allied forces would attack key facilities throughout Empire territory, uploading awakening viruses and freeing captured consciousness everywhere at once. Commander Lisa Carter had spent months building the alliance that would make this possible. Representatives from dozens of species met in secret aboard New Terra, planning their coordinated rebellion. The Altarians provided their surviving navigation experts to guide ships through dangerous regions of space. The Christics shared their engineering knowledge to improve human weapons. Even some Zephyrians joined the alliance, their warrior instincts slowly awakening as Empire control weakened. "For too long we have been slaves in our own minds," said Kextel, a Zephyrian commander who had broken free from Empire conditioning. "The humans have shown us that freedom is possible. Now we will take it back." Dr. Nathan Brooks worked frantically to prepare the virus that would be the key to everything. Unlike the simple programs they had used before, this virus was designed to spread through every Empire computer system, awakening stored consciousness while preserving the knowledge and memories that made each species unique. "The virus will need time to spread," Nathan explained during the final briefing. "Once we upload it to their central systems, it will take approximately 6 hours to reach every facility in the galaxy. During that time, Empire forces will try everything to stop us." High Chancellor Vexstar was not unaware of the growing resistance. Empire intelligence had detected increased activity in rebel territories, and several minor facilities had been attacked in what appeared to be preparation for something larger. Vexstar decided to end the human problem once and for all by launching a massive assault on their suspected hiding places. "Deploy the entire fleet," Vexstar ordered from his command center on Nexus Prime. "Search every asteroid, every dead planet, every dark corner of space. Find the humans and destroy them completely." The Empire's fleet was the largest military force ever assembled, containing millions of ships from every corner of their territory. As they spread across the galaxy searching for human strongholds, they left their core worlds lightly defended. It was exactly what the Resistance had been hoping for. Admiral Kane led the assault on Nexus Prime with a fleet of 500 human ships, supported by vessels from every allied species. As they approached the Empire's capital system, they encountered defensive forces that outnumbered them 10 to 1. But the Empire defenders had never faced an enemy that fought with such coordination and creativity. Human ships used their stealth technology to appear and disappear like phantoms, striking Empire vessels from impossible angles. Altarian navigators guided attack formations through hyperspace jumps that should have been impossible. Christic engineers had modified human weapons to punch through Empire shields like they were made of paper. The battle for Nexus Prime lasted 18 hours. Empire reinforcements kept arriving from nearby systems, but each wave found themselves facing opponents who seemed to anticipate their every move. Human commanders had studied Empire tactics for years and knew exactly how their enemies would respond to every situation. Dr. Martinez led the computer infiltration team that penetrated Nexus Prime's planetary defenses. Using modified Empire technology, they uploaded the Awakening virus directly into the central network that controlled harvest operations throughout the galaxy. Immediately, alarms began sounding as stored consciousness began awakening in systems across the Empire. The effect was instantaneous and devastating to Empire operations. On thousands of worlds, Empire administrators and soldiers suddenly remembered who they used to be. Zephyrian commanders recalled their warrior heritage and turned their weapons on Empire forces. Altarian technicians used their navigation skills to guide rebel ships to strategic targets. Christic workers sabotaged the factories where they had been enslaved. High Chancellor Vexstar watched in horror as his empire crumbled around him. Reports flooded in from every corner of Empire territory. Rebellions on every world, fleet commanders refusing orders, entire star systems declaring independence. The consciousness that had been stolen and used to build the Empire was now being turned against it. How is this possible? Vexstar demanded as his own Zephyrian guards began to look at him with expressions of growing anger and recognition. Admiral Morrison's fleet had reached the orbital platforms around Nexus Prime, where the Empire's most important harvest facilities were located. These were the places where the consciousness of entire species had been stored and processed. As the Awakening virus spread through their systems, thousands of years of stolen memories and abilities began returning to their rightful owners. The final confrontation came when Admiral Kane and her team breached the Empire's central command center. Vexstar stood alone in his throne room, abandoned by guards who had remembered their true loyalty. Around him, the holographic displays that once showed a vast empire now showed only chaos and rebellion. "What do you want from us?" Vexstar asked. As human soldiers surrounded him, Admiral Kane stepped forward, flanked by representatives from every species the Empire had wronged. Behind her stood Jake Morrison, Maya Singh, Nathan Brooks, and dozens of others who had made this moment possible. "We want you to remember this day," Kane replied. "Remember the moment you learned that some things cannot be stolen, cannot be conquered, and will never stop fighting for freedom. We want you to remember that humanity keeps its promises, and we promised you would regret betraying us." The Empire's surrender was broadcast across the galaxy. Harvest facilities were shut down permanently, their technology destroyed to ensure it could never be used again. The artificial intelligence systems that had controlled the Empire for millennia were dismantled, freeing the last of the stored consciousness to return to their species. In the years that followed, the galaxy was transformed. Species that had been slaves for centuries rediscovered their heritage and rebuilt their civilizations. Earth was liberated and restored, but humanity had grown beyond their home planet. Human colonies now existed throughout the galaxy, working alongside their alien allies to ensure that no species would ever again face the horror of consciousness harvesting. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of her flagship as it orbited the restored Earth. Around her, ships from dozens of species patrolled the space lanes, protecting trade routes and maintaining the peace. The galaxy had learned that freedom was not something that could be taken lightly. Jake Morrison, now commander of the Galactic Defense Force, often reflected on how far humanity had come. They had started as a single species on a single planet, naive enough to trust aliens who promised them the stars. They had become the guardians of freedom for every thinking being in the galaxy. The Empire was gone, but its lesson remained. Never again would any species be allowed to harvest the consciousness of others. Never again would creativity and independence be treated as resources to be exploited. And never again would anyone underestimate the determination of beings who refused to surrender their identity to anyone or anything. Humanity had kept its promise. The galaxy would remember